It has been a long-standing hot-button issue among Singaporeans, and tonight we're going to be discussing whether the concerns of employers have been overlooked in our bid to safeguard the well-being of maids. Well, you can watch us on TV, on your computer, or on your mobile devices, and we want you to be a part of our show as well. You can call us at 6691-0028 with your questions or comments, and this season you can also tweet us at TPVote. And we'll be reading some of your tweets during the show. And of course, we're running our live poll powered by Pigeonhole. And at the bottom of your screen, you can see today's poll question. We're asking, are employers' concerns being overlooked, yes or no? Well, cast your vote by using your computers or mobile devices at channelnewsasia.com/TP. And the best part about this live poll is that you can change your vote anytime. And let's go ahead and take a look at the poll numbers right now. We asked you the question, are employers' concerns being overlooked? Well, right now 76.5% say yes and 23.5% say no. That's to ensure that there's a constant supply of maids. And of course, my co-presenter, 938 Live producer and presenter Daniel Martin will be monitoring the tweets and polls throughout the show.
Thanks for joining us, everybody. That's right, there's so many ways to get in touch with us, so we hope you make use of every little opportunity to do so. I want to welcome our guests to the studio, and for joining us on today's discussion, we're joined by John on the left right there from TWC2, and they're going to be talking a little bit to us as an NGO about the rights and issues associated with foreign domestic workers. Mr. Ng is joining us as well, and he's an employer in Singapore, and he'll be talking to us from the perspective of the issue of being an employer in Singapore and whether your rights have been overlooked. Umaru joins us as well. You've been in Singapore 14 years, I understand, as a foreign domestic worker. Welcome to the program. Thank you all for joining us. Let's start with the poll question, because this is something that we know that about 78.1% of our respondents so far are saying yes, we are pandering too much to maids and NGOs. 21.9% are saying no, this is to ensure a constant supply of maids. John, let me ask you, in this situation, are employers' rights being overlooked, do you think?
No, I would say not. I think the relationship so far has been rather unbalanced. And so this is a matter of rebalancing that relationship. I mean, after all, there's not many people who would expect to work the kind of hours that domestic workers work, for example, or who could be sent home and dismissed at the drop of a hat. So we're really looking at a situation now where some of the rights of domestic workers are being acknowledged, and I think there'll be a more harmonious relationship between the two in the future. So there'll be a temporary inconvenience, but people will adjust and they'll find a new balance in their relationships.
Okay. Coach Chin, what about you?
Yes, I do think that the rights of the employers have been compromised in a certain way, because the relationship is imbalanced for a specific reason. Because in Singapore, when a foreign domestic worker comes into join our family, they are a stranger to us. In actual fact, they are not somebody that we knew. They are not, in a way, part of the family. So that's the reason why we tend to be a bit suspicious or be careful about that. For example, at home I have a young daughter. So if I bring in a stranger to take care of her and take care of the family and the household, and without really knowing her better and to gain the trust, how would I, move on and not allow her to go on to take a day off? In my family, my domestic helper does not take a day off, because we have a prior agreement with that. But on and off, we try to move out of that range by giving her a day off or two. But what we experienced was not really good, because for example, on Christmas Day we allowed her to go off for a day. We agreed to come back for her to come back at 6 o'clock in the evening, but guess what? After midnight she's not even home yet.
So that was one issue that perhaps soured the trust.
Yes.
And I mean, that is a situation that can exist with a father-son relationship, a brother-brother relationship. I take your point as well. We're going to find out more about your perspectives on the day off aspect in just a little while. Umaru, let me come to you. You've been in Singapore for many years, and you spent a number of time with different employers as well. Do you think that the employer has more rights, or that in this case the domestic worker has more rights now?
For now, it is employer have more right than domestic worker. It's domestic worker is just like nothing in the house. It's like we didn't have any rights like the day off. as a, this is a basic right of the human being as the worker. We have a day. We have to have a day off. Example, we can't accept ourselves to working for 7 days in the house, and we need to have a rest. We need to comfort myself or as a, have a resting from the working for 7 days.
You say it's a basic right, but when you hear like Mr. Ang saying that he and his domestic worker come to an agreement that she doesn't take a day off, how does that make you feel?
I feel sad for the domestic worker. It should be not have agreement in between that you can't have a day off. I found like it's a human, we need a rest. And this is the basic, really basic to have a day off every week.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mr. Ang, I'll give you a chance to reply on it.
I mean, what arrangements did you have to make prior, so that your maid can continue helping, doing the chores for you on a weekly basis? What was the arrangement like, and was it important that she stick around for 7 days a week?
Actually, one of the key concerns that we had was the many stories we hear from friends, relatives who had domestic helper before. And I had a friend where he changed domestic helper, 10 domestic helper in a single year. Because some stole from them. Some of them even brought men back. And I even have a relative who has a domestic helper who has pornography on her phone. And these people are taking care of my father-in-law as well as my young children.
Okay, so Kok Chin, what does that have to do with the issue of the day off?
So the key issue that what I gathered from my friends and residents as well is that we are worried that some of these young domestic workers are naive and they could be easily influenced. For example, when they go off and they do mix with other domestic workers who are more experienced or who may have other ulterior motive, and that could influence them to do things that they may not necessarily do.
Okay, social circles, environment. Okay.
Yes. So, John, are these fears unfounded, or what can employers or other friends do to allay these fears?
Well, I think sometimes the fears are exaggerated, and if you have one bad experience, you tend to maybe get that out of proportion. I mean, I wear the other hat as well. I'm also an employer of a domestic worker, and maybe I've been lucky, but we've never really had any great problems about this. Our worker gets a weekly day off. And we just have to accept that human beings come in the same kind of mixture, whatever profession they're following. And so you're going to get some who are not so good, and then you'll get, I think, the average, who will be pretty well behaved most of the time. And so we should just be more trusting. I can understand employers who at the beginning are very nervous about a new relationship with a worker, but once she's settled in, then you should know that person well enough.
You mentioned that trust, and it's we talked about this earlier, and it's not something that is given right away. I mean, would you be able to trust somebody right away?
No, definitely not.
You mentioned it was hard, exactly. So, giving it that consideration, let's talk about the MOM's announcements and things like having the one-day settling in program, for example. Would that help allay your fears as an employer, knowing that a domestic worker has gone through such a program?
I think what Dom said was correct. The social circle is very important. We do not mind them going out, but we are very sensitive of who are they interacting with. So that's the issue that we as employer are concerned with. I mean, if they're interacting with good friends, and they don't pick up bad habits, I think that's perfectly all right with us. But I mean, if they're going out in a very uncontrolled manner, and they could be hanging around with foreign talents.
It's a blurry line, isn't it? Because on the one hand you're an employer, but you're worried about the social circle and the company that's being kept. It's almost as a family member's perspective. So it's a blurred boundary, unfortunately, when you're an employer in Singapore. Let me talk a little bit more about what's in that program, the Settling In program that will be launched actually. The current 4-hour safety awareness course will be subsumed under this new program, and as of this year, 7 domestic workers fell to their deaths while washing exterior paints or hanging laundry out to dry, so to prevent more deaths. from happening. MOM has designed the program to include hands-on sessions to practice hanging laundry and cleaning windows safely. Trainers at the SIP will also take down observations of areas of improvements for the maids during these practical sessions, and this information will be shared with the employment agencies, who will convey the information to the employer. So that's the filter down process that will happen. A lot of it has to do with the safety issues, I would imagine, the practical aspects. We're also talking about this idea in the program of relationships and stress management as well. That's what we understand will be covered in this program. Umaru, let me come to you. They didn't have such a program when you first came to Singapore.
No, I didn't have.
When you hear about a program that talks about practical aspects of using the household equipment, areas of relationship management and stress management in a one-day course, do you think it'll make a difference for some of your colleagues who might come to Singapore?
I think yes, it is. It's going to be really make different for them, because the between in our own country and in the new life is really different, and how they, environment is quite different. It's like such a high building, also different as well. And this is it is very good for them. The first time I come, I didn't get that. So it was,
There's a real culture shock.
Yeah.
It's very strong, isn't it?
It is. It's really, really helpful for them to be, and also I know there's giving. MOM will give you what's right and what should not and what should do. So here you go. It's really. It's
eye-opening.
Yes.
One of the issues that has been covered is this idea of the fact that some safety aspects will be covered. And the really disturbing statistic that we have is, for this year already, we've got 7 deaths of domestic workers of falling from high windows because of cleaning. Do you think some of the safety suggestions here would be make a difference?
It must be make a difference, but I'm really into that right now, because it's 7 lives. It's 7 people, 7 persons. It's really, it's not only one life. And I was thinking that the window cleaning, it should be banned. This is my perspective. It should be not, okay, cleaning a window is just inside, it should be fine. But if you're cleaning outside the window, it should be not.
Would you accept that?
I would accept that, because I definitely do not want to have a domestic worker falling off my place and getting injured. I mean, they're still human, like what you're saying.
Absolutely.
Yes.
7 deaths in 4 months so far. We're going to go to the phone lines right now, 669-1028. Thank you for calling through. Alice, who has done just that. Hello, Alice. I know the lines are busy. Thank you for being persistent. What is your comment, Alice?
Hi. I actually do not agree to having the maid having a day off a week. Like my Myanmar maid who has just arrived. I don't think she can maneuver her way around Singapore with that limited command of English. So what if she gets lost?
I understand your concern. So, Alice, does that mean that in future, perhaps, as her command of English becomes better and as she becomes more familiar with Singapore, do you think that in future that you will be open to the idea of a day off?
But that will bring me to the second point, which is, as a working mother, I would need the extra pair of hands, let's say on a Sunday, and she would need to actually help around, because that is my day off. Would that mean that I have to work, I have to do the housework by myself?
I understand. Thank you very much, Alice, for calling through and for sharing your views with us at 669-1028. You can call us, you can share on Facebook, you can tweet us right now as well. Dominic, we were talking about this issue of families needing support.
That's right.
And needing help.
Exactly. I mean, families these days are all busy. We've got children going to school. We've got working parents. We'll get a lot more into the discussion for this show and for this topic. But right now, we have got to go for a break. And when we come back, we'll be looking at both sides of the issue and exploring the concerns of both maids and employers. Don't go away.